Okay, welcome back. We're on page 365 talking about how CUPS can do an automatic configuration. If it sees a new device being connected, like if you plugged in a USB port onto your server, it would go, whoa, I see a printer, and CUPS would kick in and say, hang on, let me go get that. It won't do that over the network automatically because that's just too much traffic going on. And later on, we're going to manually install the PDF printer, and it won't do that one because I specifically want to do that one by hand. Okay, cool. So what do printer ports actually look like? Well, it's kind of weird because there's an awful lot of obvious things. So here's one where I'm using the Internet Printing Protocol to some machine called Zoe at admin.com. And then I can use, this is the old style, using the LPD. And then over a serial port, you know, I tell it what serial port I'm at and what baud rate and all the rest of the stuff. Or if it's a network socket to a network connection, or if it's a USB, things like that. So that's basically the way you connect to a remote printer. Okay. Ours is going to be a little weirder because ours is not a physical device at all. Ours is going to be a pseudo device, or however you want to call it. Okay, so the next thing to talk about is I want to shut down, enable, or disable. So this is kind of important, hint, 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 about what you need to do. So if I want to completely remove a print queue, I want to make it go away, then I would type lp-admin -x and then give the print queue's name. So if I go back to here, and let's type man lp-admin, and then x is going to be, well, all over the place, but that's beside the point. Huh. Did I miss it? Or is it just down here some more? Okay, I don't see it. I guess I'm blind. Anyway, the idea of X meaning that I'm just going to whack this guy. I want the print queue to go away. Let's say I'm no longer printing there. I want it done. Now, if I want to temporarily disable the queue, I don't want to. I mean, I'm switching print cartridges. Okay, I'm not talking about a long-term outage. All I want to do is just fix it so that new print jobs don't go to the queue. And so there's a thing called CUPS enable. It's all one word, CUPS enable and CUPS disable. And you give it the name of the queue, and you can just temporarily disable the queue, open up the printer, do what you want to do, button it back up, and then re-enable it. And if you had multiple printers of the same type, as soon as you disable one of the queues, you could have it configured to move over. And then another one is, okay, this printer needs to go to servicing. It's going to be out for a couple of weeks. So I want to do another thing called reject. So lp-admin is to make it go away completely. CUPS enable and CUPS delete is temporary, like minutes, you know. And then a reject means this thing's going to be gone for quite some time. And then, you know, a couple of weeks later, I might want to come back and redo it. Cool? All right. So there's a command line summary here on page 369 that talks about all these things that can happen. The CUPS config, the CUPS enable and disable, and LP info and LP and passwords. Of course, these other things are actually the same thing. In other words, the eject, accept, and reject are exact same thing as enable and disable, cancel, and all. So the System 5 and the Berkeley ones are the same thing, but in other words, they provide interface that whatever, you know, close your eyes, I'm on a BSD, I'll use LPC and LPQ and LPR and that kind of stuff. If I'm on System 5, I'll do that one, or I can just use the native CUPS one because most likely you're running CUPS. Okay. So troubleshooting on page 369. So how do you restart a service if it gets messed up? We've already done that. That's the systemctl guy, right? Systemctl, restart, and then the name of the service, right? cups.service. Cool. All right. There's some log files. Now, to tell you the truth, I don't think we have any log files in our system yet. But I'm going to go to var log and see, because there may be something in there. And yeah, we got cups. I can't imagine what's in there yet. Well, not much. An access log and an error log. Hey, let's look at the error log, because I would imagine that the error log is probably going to say, hey, you remember where I printed last time, but I didn't have a device configured, right? So let's do, I have no idea what this is going to be in here, but we're going to find out. Yeah, okay. That's not very useful. Basically what they're saying is somebody tried to print something. Okay. So the exercise. Now this is the exercise I want you to do on your own, mainly because you have a upcoming homework assignment that makes you do this. So I'm just going to walk you through it, but I don't recommend you doing it right this very second unless you're prepared to start doing screen captures, okay? So read the assignment before you start doing this, because otherwise I don't want you to have to redo it twice. So one of the things you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go get a print driver for the PDF. The fake PDF printer. It's pretty straightforward. There's a okay. I'm gonna fake it out. Well, maybe I'll go ahead and do it on mine. So sudo apt-get, and then I want to tell it install, and then printer driver cups PDF. That'll install the print driver for the PDF printer. Okay, so this is an easy way of installing a print driver when you don't have a physical printer. Cool? All right. The next thing you would probably want to do is install this new thing, because even though we installed a driver, we haven't actually glued the two pieces together yet. So I'm not going to do that here, but there's a command line. It's in the lecture notes that talks about using lp-admin to point to this thing called cups.-pdf and to set it up and tell it what the device is. And the device is going to be weird. It's not going to be like this example. It's going to be something dumb like cups-pdf : I mean, that's like a protocol name, like HTTP : right? They're using cups PDF thing. And then where that dang PostScript printer definition file is, which in our case has been installed in a particular location. It's all in the lecture notes. So to verify that it worked, you would type lpt stat. Now, I don't think we've done anything enough to be able to get lpt stat -t to work. Yes, it is. Okay. So because I automatically, how about this? Look, I only got one printer, right? And so the machine goes, hey, the system default is that. Okay, great. So you should be able to do this, and it should tell you that it's accepting requests and whether or not it's currently printing anything. You could make that the default for everyone. Remember, we're talking about LP options. So it'd be LP options -D for default, and then cups, cups-PDF, and that'll make it default for everyone. In our case, we only have one printer, so there's not much of a need. So how do you configure this thing for remote administration if you wanted to? Well, one of the things you need to know in order to enable remote configuration is you need to know what your IP address is. So I'm just going to type ifconfig. Now, if you're in the Windows world, you type ipconfig. This is ifconfig. It's the same thing. It's just one has a P and one has an F. Okay, ifconfig. So it looks like I'm running 10.0.2.15. Okay, that's my my IP address. And so if I was to go in here, I need to add a listen. Okay, now there's 3 locations in the cups file. Okay, in the configuration file, 3 locations where it says location. Okay, and then I need to have an allow all in there, and I need to be able to listen in on. Remember, it's going to be 10.0.2.15:631. That's the port I'm going to be listening on. Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm not actually going to do that, but I'm going to give you a link in the lecture notes that point you to directly, step by step, on how to make this happen. Cool beans? Okay. So that is the end of Chapter 12, and we're ready to move on to Chapter 18, which is about email. Yay! Cool. All right. So let's talk about this. This is a little weird. Okay. In the old days, I had a UNIX server sitting in the corner of my building, and I had dumb terminals with serial ports. I had serial cables run all through the building. I had one at my desk, and a lot of other people had dumb monitor, DEC VT100 dumb terminals, just a keyboard and a monitor, no mouse or anything. And so in that case, it's fairly obvious that sending emails to me, to the person sitting next to me, was not going from my terminal to their terminal. In fact, it wasn't going anywhere at all. All it went was from my desk to the server, and it stayed there in the server until, Bob logged in, and then it would come up and say, hey, you have new mail, and Bob would read his mail. In other words, the centralization of the thing meant that none of this stuff was stored on the periphery, because we didn't have PCs back then. It was all just dumb terminals. Cool. All right. So here's the way it kind of sounded. It sounded crazy, so just bear with me. So in that context, where a single server supplied like 40 people, like it was in my case, every machine that you had, every Unix machine you had its own print server. I'm sorry, email server. Okay? And so that kind of got complicated. So typically what you would do is have like one email server and not have, all the rest of the machines wouldn't, because otherwise I could send emails, it just made it more complicated. All right. And so again, originally, this was all just text. There wasn't any graphics or anything like that. MIME style emails didn't exist until you had a graphical user interface. I mean, in a text world, I can't hear an audio file or see a picture or watch a video from the command line. Okay, so none of that mattered at that time. Okay, now, unfortunately, there's a heck of a lot of stuff here that you're just going to have to memorize. I apologize. I know, look, I don't like to memorize. I'm just telling you, there's an awful lot of stuff here that's kind of weird. The names are odd and don't make any sense, and therefore you basically have no choice but to kind of sort of memorize stuff. I apologize. So let's go through it. A mail user agent. Okay, a user agent. So UA is user agent. A mail user agent is designed on the periphery to read and compose email. That's what it does for a living. Okay. Now the user agent typically, I know this sounds a little weird, just bear with me. The user agent might also store old emails, but that's not really its purpose. This UA guy, this user agent, like Microsoft Outlook is a classic example of a user agent, is for composing and reading emails. Okay, the fact that it actually stores something just makes things complicated. So just hang on a second. Then they have a mail submission agent, an MSA. The mail submission agent it processes the emails before it gets sent onto the wire. There's a lot of things that have to happen. First of all, I have to verify that the person I'm sending to is legit and all the rest of that stuff. And maybe I need to do some virus checking or on attachments and things like that. And then finally, I send it off to the mail transport agent. So we have the user agent, which is this guy, and then it sends to the mail submission agent, and then it sends it to the mail transport agent, and then the mail transport agent sends it over to another machine. So the transport agent to transport agent is how it goes across the internet. And then we have this thing called an access agent. The access agent is the thing you go to download your emails, which is why the user agent and access agent is kind of complex. If I'm composing an email, I don't need an access agent. But if I'm reading an older email, I do need it. So, well, I'll go through that in a little bit more detail in just a minute, I promise. Okay, we're coming up on the 15-minute mark, so you know what's going on.